Alternative Reality, Volume 1, Chapter 12. You have received 2,947 fall damage. Whale did not die. Sure, his pelvis got a taste of tough love, but beyond that, nothing. Slowly, he opened his eyes and took in his surroundings. Gloom enshrouded the top of the pit, as mist reluctantly tumbled down along its walls like grasping hands. Miraculously, Whale found himself lying in between the rusty spikes with not a scratch on him. Well, besides the fall damage that left his health bar flashing like a warning signal. For the first time since, ever? Well could confidently say that being borderline anorexic paid off, because it seemed like he was just lean enough to escape death. His assailant, though? Well shifted his head to Ted. Not so lucky. Well even had the pleasure of observing her impaled figure before she completely disintegrated into particles. Getting up, he couldn't help but smile. She even left presents behind. How nice of her. Where once her corpse lay, now a luxurious dagger with a pile of gold coins awaited Whale's grubby fingers, which darted for the prize quicker than one had time to count the amount. One never knew what sneaky rodent waited about to steal your hard-earned loot right from under your nose, after all. 20 gold. Nice. A satisfied smirk painted Whale's features as the man realized how much he just gathered. What a haul. Once done with all the looting, Whale decided to take his time and munch down on some stale bread. Alone. In a dark pit of death. With who knows what lurking in the shadows and no obvious route of escape in sight. Smart man, that Whale. A master at setting priorities, never wasting a single minute. Belly full and excitement calmed, now all he needed to do was find a way out. And what do you know? It was but a few steps away, a narrow tunnel that might lead to an even more dangerous location. Yet Whale didn't have much of a choice. Wait for his trusted colleagues to rescue him? Those fellows that were treating every coin Whale picked up like personal insults? Or to try and find a way out by himself? Difficult choice, to be sure. The way out was a less than dignified means of escape. Whale was forced to almost crawl his way through the small tunnel, like some sewer critter. Didn't like those much. They burned poorly due to all the wet fur. Other than that, he was paid, got some loot, tummy full of cheap cardboard bread, and even his assailant was dead. Competition is most likely gone, and no one was after his poor self. Hell, even darkness wasn't much of an issue with fire in his hand. Things couldn't be going any better. With such optimistic and willfully blind thoughts occupying his mind, Whale eventually reached the end of the tunnel and stepped out into a new room. A cozy little chamber, the light from his fireball dancing upon its plain, unadorned walls playfully. An altar of cracked stone and sharp corners stood at its far end, with an arrangement of items upon it. Imagination running courses over what sort of dark, sinister rituals took place here, Whale slowly approached to inspect what luck brought him. First thing he took note of was a simple, unadorned dagger that he picked up to finger its polished white hilt. He could have sworn that it was carved out of bone, and while trying to figure that out, noted that the blade would occasionally give off a purple sheen. Ominous. Was this the ritual blade used for whatever depravity took place here? Eyeing the altar, Whale almost expected to see some dried bloodstains. He wasn't sure if he was disappointed or happy to have found none. Peculiar dagger. Description: a strange dagger made out of unknown material. Durability: 40 out of 40. Damage: from 25 points to 33. Requirements: level 75, 20 strength, 60 intelligence. Asterisk: hidden. As he looked over the dagger's statistics, he was left disappointed. Completely unremarkable stats and ridiculous requirements. Many would probably throw the damn thing aside in frustration, but Whale's eyes narrowed on the hidden part. There might be more to this dagger than met the eye, and being the hoarder that he was, Whale decided to keep it. Next, his eyes fell on some robes that were neatly folded right next to the weapon. Expectantly, he lifted them up to get a better look. Black, with red embroidery that formed weird and eye-bending symbols that made him feel a bit disorientated. Besides that, the robes were relatively plain. Yet as he fingered the fabric, he realized that the robes were in much better condition than what he was wearing. This made him think back of the times his parents would reminisce on how things were made to last longer back in the day. Simple black robe. Description: a worn black robe, well maintained and in good condition, unaffected by the passage of time. Durability: 31 out of 35. Defense: 15. Requirements: level 75, 60 wisdom, 80 intelligence. Asterisk: hidden. Wait, well maintained? By who? Uncomfortable, Whale glanced around, but after seeing that no apparition spawned right behind him, turned back to contemplate the clothing. Once again, the stats left much to be desired. Same story as the dagger. So far, this unexpected treasure trove was a complete letdown. Where were all the amazing buffs and bonuses that he expected to see? His only hope was that something would help him find out what was hidden under the hidden tag. Frustrated, he eyed the robe until his head started to spin, his whole view consumed by those strange red symbols upon the robe that seemed to become brighter and brighter. It got to a point that the whole chamber seemed to glow in that ominous shade, and before you know it, Whale realized that it was. Startled, Whale looked away from the robes and stared at the altar that was now completely covered by the same red symbols that he saw on the robe. Ever brighter they shone, and all the while Whale felt himself being drawn into that light, his mind unable to break away. Shapes and forms came away, covered his whole sight, and slowly arranged into something more recognizable. Letters, Whale suddenly realized. Letters that he could understand. And as he started to read them, a world took shape around him. A red aurora stained the night sky, cast by the raging fires that consumed the metropolis below. Its walls were shattered, its people beaten and broken, their homes now nothing more than ruins. 1,000 years' worth of culture and knowledge destroyed in one red night. Their white knights rode in with torches in hand, slaying all who resisted, bringing down their merciless justice upon those that yet lived. Their devotees paid homage, sacrificing symbols and servants of our own gods to theirs. A voice boomed. fall of a people, of a kingdom, under the domination of another. A strange bunch these victims were. Even though their body structure seemed almost identical to that of humans, they had pale white skin and hair that was as dark as the night. Small bent black horns angled along their scalps, while their eyes, what eyes indeed, black as the night or a deep, deep red they were. A peculiar breed of species, vanquished by humanity. Whale could truly emphasize, the weird will always the ones to suffer discrimination, although it was ironic for someone like him to call others weird. Bound in chains, scattered to the edges of humanity's empire, fated to suffer humiliation, ill treatment, torment, slavery. Deep underground they were dragged away, in black narrow tunnels, high enough only to crawl in, to mine riches for their vanquishers. In the fighting pits they fought for entertainment, faced against ferocious animals and unfavorable odds, slaughtered. All for the amusement of the victors. Even in the Empire's political infighting they had a spot, serving as disposable troops, arrow fodder, with no protection or weaponry. Yet the will remained unbent, and their gods did not abandon them, the voice continued. Forgotten powers awakened within their kind, striking fear into the hearts of foes. Rebellions flared, with gods chosen at the very forefront, leading the struggle. Cities and villages burned, the victors now the ones running for their lives, with huge beasts of fire and claw looming behind them. Horned, just as their summoners, the beasts raged and unleashed destruction upon the land, slaughtering all who stood in their way. Humanity's armies shattered, overwhelmed by their own fallen, the dead rising, bodies taken by tormented souls of the vanquished. Brought back to unlife, they roamed the lands of the living, searching for retribution, yet unleashing it on their own instead. A reborn nation was forming, with a tall robed figure at its forefront, its facial features hidden in the shadows of a hood, back straight as a string, unburdened yet by the passage of time. Wielding fire and shadow, the figure led its people through a darker, bloodier path, but towards a future none of them had before. Yet it was not meant to be. Humanity called upon their own gods for salvation, and their prayers too were answered. Wielding blinding light, with fanatical devotion and many boons, they managed to retake all that was lost, to stand above all else, to rule and judge as they saw fit once again. Only the robed figure remained now. It stood looming on a hill, overlooking the prospering empire of humanity, their cities bustling with activity, the land once again at peace, all the strife and conflict forgotten. Shoulders slumped, weighted down heavily by sorrow and regret, its back now bent. With no purpose to fight for, all it could do was fade away with the passing of time, together with its people, defeated, forgotten. +2 wisdom.